Hi, I'm Nancy McCocken, and welcome to Living Karma Yoga, a program that celebrates all that the yoga world has to offer, from posture, which is asana, to mantra, mudras, pranayama, which are breathing exercises, to cooking, travel, and so very, very much more to help you take your yoga off the mat and into your lives. Everything that we present is designed to help you live more fully, more abundantly, and more joyfully. And these are all things that yoga promises. They are the abundance and the joy and the light that yoga promises, and the tools that we bring to help you find these are what's deeply inside of ourselves, and yoga and all the tools we bring you help to pare them away. My guest today is Debbie Thomas. She is a nurse, a yoga teacher, and fitness enthusiast, in maybe that order and maybe not that order. She combines her knowledge of the human body with compassion and humor to create classes that are available and appeal to everyone. In fact, the Saturday classes at 11:30, people pretty joyous, and she has a great sense of humor. She enjoys helping people live more comfortably in their bodies, and her intimate knowledge and understanding of the human body's function and her ability to recognize the difference between each of us enable her to offer adaptations to students while she's teaching. She combines the discipline of alignment with elements of play and freedom to grow and expand. She's known for her down-to-earth style, and she teaches with compassion and joy. And one of the things that she shows her sense of humor that she adds when not teaching yoga classes, she is blessed to serve as a private duty nurse. That's not what shows her humor, but what does is that she says she really appreciates that she gets to wear scrubs or yoga pants every single day. And just to add to that, when I was teaching freshman composition, I kept thinking, oh, I just want to be able to go barefoot to work every day. And the only job I know to do this is a yoga teacher.
Or grape stomper.
Yes, yeah, that's true, a grape stomper. We don't do that much here in this culture, though. Because of her nursing background, though, Debbie's acutely aware of anatomy, and her presentation today draws on this awareness. She's going to teach us how to stretch. And I heard you say in class that while we think we're stretching, some of us, who play sports or golf or whatever it is we're doing, gardening, we think we're stretching a little bit when we stretch our hamstrings. But there's a lot more to stretching than we realize, and so that's the reason I wanted you to come on the show today.
There's over 600 muscles, and we just focus on a few, and we don't realize that there's muscles that are superficial to those deep muscles that we're always talking about, or deep to the superficial muscles, or run on an angle, or short or long, and we just tend to either fold forward or side to side, and we don't think about the angles of our body and the directions the muscles go in.
Okay, so the program today, you're going to show us how to stretch. Will you talk a little bit about those angles?
I will. I'll talk about those angles, and I'll show you how you can change changing the shape of your torso, or even just moving slightly to the right or the left, can target these different muscles. Only you are in your body, so only you can feel what's going on. So you need to be comfortable in the exploration of your anatomy.
Okay, and the things that you're going to show, I'll be demonstrating, but the things you're going to show, these are things that people can do at home?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to target some of the stretches that if you were just on your living room floor and you were like, I got to stretch, that you would do.
Okay, shall we start?
Yes, let's start. I'm going to have you start laying down, because even though we're not practicing yoga, it's very important to bring awareness into your stretching so that you don't hurt yourself, that you don't overdo it or you don't underdo it, that you're not afraid to explore the boundaries of your stretch. So I'm just going to have Nancy lay down for a moment any way she'd like that's comfortable for her, and just let her take a moment to just move into her breath. She does this a lot, so it won't take that long for her to come into herself. And then I'm just going to have her draw her right knee into her body, and she can either support it with her shin or not. So inhale, draw your right leg in, and I'm just going to have her make circles with her hip, because it's important not just to stretch our muscles, but to bring movement into our joints. Okay, and in the other direction. And then I'm going to have her stop, and I'm going to have her turn her knee out and place her ankle on her thigh. So in yoga, we call this laying pigeon pose. Some people call it the number 4 pose. So here we are, and what a lot of people will do is they'll press, hopefully not on their knee, but maybe right here. And what you should do, because the turning out of your knee happens from the hip, not the knee, because the knee is a ball and socket joint, and it doesn't do that, is start pressing down from the hip, from the crease of the hip, so that you lengthen the spine as well, okay? And now I'm gonna have you inhale and pick your leg up into your body, your left leg, and take your hands behind you, behind the left leg, okay? Now I'm gonna have you tilt over a little bit, just your hips towards the cameras, okay? Now pause. So now we're always talking about lengthening and making our hips level. So right now your hip is off the ground, right? So I want you to lengthen from the hip crease and get your hip back down. Now you might feel it a little bit different. So what I offer is that you move from side to side or in circles, and when you find the place that you feel a little bit tighter than another place, you pause. So pause where you feel tight. Okay, now work to even your hips out on the ground, even if it doesn't become that way. The energy draws forward and down. Now you look so happy, and I'm going to have you change sides in a moment so you're even. And so that you can understand that both sides are not necessarily the same. So go ahead and place your right foot down and your left foot down. Just take a couple breaths so that you can just acclimate, notice what's going on. And then on an inhale, we'll have you draw your left leg in and make circles. And you can hold your shin or your thigh or not, it's up to you. And then circles in the other direction. And then we're gonna turn our knee out when we come to still and place our ankle on our thigh. And notice that this hip may not be exactly the same. So now get your length by taking the hip crease away from you and let it move up towards the knee. You can even take your hand and slowly walk it up the leg. And then when you're ready, you take your right leg into your body on an inhale so that you're bringing awareness. Okay, and you stop. As soon as you feel something, you should stop, because those are your stretch receptors. Every muscle has stretch receptors. That is what keeps you from overstretching. It is not that just because you're tight, your body is intelligently telling you to pause. And then you can breathe through that space that's tight. And then when you're ready, you move further. So when you're ready, go ahead and maybe shift towards me. And now lengthen that leg, that left leg, towards the ground. And even if it doesn't get there, you just work on evening your hips. And then you can make your circles and find the spot that you're tight. And then when you find that spot, I don't know if Nancy has one.
It's everything.
It's everything. She's going to do the same thing. She's going to work to bring length starting from here, not here. And even if the hip does not come to the ground, the energy is drawing forward and down. How's that feel?
Great.
Okay.
Except my quad is,
Quad is tight?
yeah.
Okay, we'll try to get to that, okay? All right, let's put your feet on the ground, both feet on the ground. And we're going to come up to seated, okay, when you're ready. And I'm going to have you take your legs out wide. So this is another one that we do a lot at home. And if you're at home and you're sitting up and you can't sit upright and you're curling forward, a good thing to have is maybe you don't have a block, but a blanket or a book. And you can place the block underneath just your sit bones, not your whole bottom. So just those bony prominences. And that tilts your pelvic floor down a little bit. And we're going to talk about connective tissue, why Nancy's in this posture. And what I'm going to have Nancy do is from her hips, not her waist, fold forward. And the way you find your hips, not your waist, is bring your hands forward, place your fingertips on the ground, down, and then drag them isometrically so they're not really going to move towards you. And you should feel your hips, yes? Or your inner thighs. That's where you come down from. And you stop when you feel a sensation. And when that sensation starts to dissipate, that's when you move further. So what most people do in this posture is they only move forward. But you can move. Let's move 1 inch to the right. Let's move our hands over 1 inch to the right and fold forward. Notice how you feel it differently? Okay, so that's always available to you. So maybe you would move even a little bit closer to your leg. So I invite you to explore. When you move your torso, you'll feel it differently in your legs because there's muscles that attach your torso and your legs. So find a spot that you're really tight, pick one of them, and hang out there for a moment and breathe. Listen to your body. If your breath becomes ragged or something starts to hurt, you should back off. So a big buzzword right now is connective tissue, and the theory is that some poses stretch connective tissue and some poses stretch muscle. The truth is, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, that you can't stretch one without the other completely. There can be muscles, there can be postures or stretchers that target one more than the other, but because they're intertwined, it's really hard to stretch one without the other. So now, Nancy, if you let go of that muscular energy and you just flop your feet down, does that feel differently to you? Mm-hmm. So usually when you let go of the muscular activity, you'll get more connective tissue than muscle, and when you increase the muscle activity, you get more muscle than connective tissue. So why don't you spend just a couple moments here and maybe stretch out a little bit so they can see the different shapes you were able to take. Hips are always moving back, the heart is moving forward, and we always listen to our breath. And we listen, when our body says stop, we stop. We don't try to go past that. That's when we get an injury. And then whatever it is that you enjoy doing, running, riding your bike, gardening, you're gonna have to stop. So when you're ready, Nancy, we're actually gonna come up to standing, okay? And then we'll come back to the ground. Sorry, I know you're comfortable. So here's just another shape that a lot of people like to take, and it's that runner's stretch. Okay, so Nancy's gonna step her left leg back and let her right leg stay forward, about 3 or 4 feet, depending on your height. And I'm bringing these blocks to Nancy. She can touch the ground, but I just wanna show that if you can't, books, blocks, bring the earth closer to you so you can use those. Okay, this is one of my favorite postures to explore. Sorry, I had to adjust myself. Back heel can be on or off the ground. We're trying to straighten the front leg. So we're gonna do a straight leg runner stretch. So take your hip back. Now here's so many different ways to play in this posture. Nancy's got one of them right here. Toes up, all the way back in the heels. Toes down, completely different pose. You can swish your hips from side to side. And one of my very favorite things to do, my favorite thing to do, is fold on the inside of the leg. So you're gonna walk both your hands inside your leg. Bring your arms out pretty wide so your chest can come through. That's why we take our arms out wide, to give our chest time to come through, or room to come through. Now push your bottom back and your heart down and your fingertips forward and let your neck relax. How's that feel?
Awkward, but okay.
Is it awkward for you?
Yeah, and I find it
So
pulling right in here at
so
my
then-
knee, so maybe bend the knee
So
a
then
little bit.
Nancy is listening to her body, and she would adjust this posture so it works for her. Those were simply my directions to get her into a place to explore. Now, is that better for you? So she found a spot for her body. You can also take your hands to the outside of your foot. This is not one of my personal favorites. I always have to adjust my feet. It doesn't really do much for me, but that doesn't mean that it won't do much for you. How's that feel to you?
It's great in my back.
There you go. The other nice trick that you can do is isometrically, once again, you don't really move it, drag the inner edge of, in this instance, her right foot back towards her left foot, and that might engage it even more. And then we have to do the other side. So she's just gonna switch sides, just like you would do at home. And then once again, be aware that even though these sides belong to the same body, they don't necessarily have the same history of injury, of many things. And your bones might not even be the same shape from side to side. So go ahead and take your hip back in order to straighten the front leg. Let your head drop. So never hold up your head. Always let your neck and your head relax. Okay, there's nothing to see while you're stretching. And then once again, there's so many options. So let's show them just swirling your hips a little bit from side to side. So it's really nice to bring this movement into your pelvic floor and your hips to keep them mobile. And then Nancy, why don't you just take a minute to show them the different shapes that you might enjoy and how you can explore your body. And
One of the things that I really like to do is to turn the forward
your
leg
foot out like
yeah.
that. Very nice. So sometimes we learn from the people that we're teaching, which is always nice. The other thing that you can do to increase your stretch is that you're pressing down through the corners of your feet, allowing the arches to lift. It doesn't have to be fancy. You just want to feel energy drawing up. You want to feel that energy drawing up, and that gives you a bigger stretch. So you have to be willing to explore. Once again, it doesn't have to be exactly what somebody says, or you can take 25 different things and learn so much. So when you're ready, Nancy, let's come into a yoga squat and pretend your heels don't come to the ground.
Oh, they don't.
Oh, good. Then it works. Okay, so one of the other things I want to talk about is supporting your pose. If your feet don't come to the ground, or whatever body part it is, those stretch receptors are going to let you know. And you're not going to really open because your muscles are actually going to be going, oh, I'm scared, I'm going to get hurt. And they're going to tighten up. This gives your body something to press into. How does that feel?
Wonderful.
And it feels wonderful. And you can stay here for a lot longer. Mm-hmm. So some of the things you can do here is walk your hands forward. Okay, and come up onto your fingertips. And you can gently press your fingertips forward and relax the hip creases down. You can make circles with your hips here if that feels good. And keep the space really open. Okay, and then when you're ready, Nancy, we're going to come to lying on our backs. Your back, actually.
The microphone out of the way.
And then I'm going to have you inhale your knees into your chest. Okay, this is just something that feels good, and I'm just going to have you rock from side to side, make some circles. We can massage. We can give ourselves some massage here. You can really press your body into the ground. It feels really nice. There's nothing wrong with giving yourself this gift of stretching and opening your body every morning or every night. It's really very natural to stretch, very natural and very necessary. I stretch before I even get out of bed. So now we're going to take a spinal twist, okay? So put your feet on the floor for a moment, and I'm going to have you pick up your hips and move them an inch over to the left. Just your hips, not your feet. Then bring your arms out to T. The reason I do that is a personal thing that I think works best. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and you have to explore, is that when she twists, her hips and her shoulders will be lined up. So I'm going to have you inhale your knees into your chest, but I'm going to have you inhale them much, much closer to your chest than you normally do, okay? Now I'm going to have you turn to the right, twist to the right. Keep your head where it is. Okay. So the higher your knees are, the higher into the back you're going to go. And most people always go to the same place. Now Nancy's legs are separated, and that may be okay for her, but if it wasn't, we could put a blanket or a block either here or underneath the bottom leg. One of the things I want to show you is that this feels so nice to have your chin and your hip level. Now I want you to turn your neck in the opposite direction of your legs. So this is your classic twist. This is what everybody tells you to do, but it's easy to move your neck in the opposite direction. It's very mobile, at least we hope it is. So now, Nancy, I want you to look in the same direction as your knees. And do you feel anything different?
I do.
Usually you'll receive a better stretch through the front of the shoulder and the chest when you look in the opposite direction. And then to give yourself a nice adjustment in this pose, you can take this would be your right hand to your top knee, top thigh, and just pull it down and away from you at the same time. So once again, you want to think about lengthening through that hip crease, and you can use that other hand to do that, and you can also take it to your ribs and allow that hand to float your ribs down. So let's watch Nancy adjust herself in the pose. And then when she's ready, she's going to come through center. Okay? And she's going to shift her hips. Don't forget to shift your hips, okay? So you want to shift your hips in the opposite direction that your knees are going in. So now she's going to shift her hips over to the right. And she's gonna bring her knees into her chest nice and high, and she's gonna twist over to the left. So I just offer you to bring them up maybe higher than you normally do to explore something different, but you can always place your knees wherever you want. So now in this instance, the arm's not coming down. So we support the arm, okay, but I'm gonna show you a little trick. Muscles move bones. Is the shoulder injured, Nancy? Okay. So you wanna soften the shoulder, move your bicep away from you, and that will soften your shoulder because, once again, muscle moves bone. And now Nancy can enjoy her twist. She's gonna do some adjustments on herself. I think I heard a crack. And when Nancy's ready, she's gonna come back to lying on her back, because I think we still have a few more minutes. So we're gonna do banana pose. Okay, are you familiar with banana? Okay, of course. I'm gonna take your right leg, walk it over, pretend this is like a normal mat size, right? And now walk your left leg over to meet it. Now bring your arms up and overhead, okay? And now you're going to move your torso like you were taking a side bend. Right, you're trying to keep the left hip and the left shoulder down. Now, this really is a great pose to get into connective tissue because there's so much connective tissue that runs down the side of the body. Okay, so now we're doing that diagonal shape, right? We're not folding back or sideways. We are side bending, but we're gonna add something to it by taking the left foot over the right foot, right over the ankle. Cross your ankles like you were sitting in a chair. Yeah. Then, Nancy, I'm gonna have you soften your hip back to the ground. And then if you want more in the upper body, you can take this hand to the other hand, or actually this hand. Turn and give yourself a little stretch. This is also a really good place to do self-massage. Do you mind if I? So this area is usually pretty tight. And this is the IT band, which is also usually pretty tight, lots of connective tissue. So you can just explore if you let go of your hands. This is a nice place to get into the groin area and the hip area. Can you feel anything?
Oh, yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
closer up to the psoas, it's hard.
Right here?
Yeah. What do you do with the head?
I like my ears lined up with my biceps. What you should do with your head is make sure your neck is comfortable. Okay. So I'm going to have you go to the other side. So you're going to walk your left leg over. And if you want to, you're going to cross your leg, your ankle, and you're going to take your torso over. This is a shape, okay. I believe that if you have the time, you should hold your stretches for about 3 minutes. If you don't have the time, then you should hold your stretches for however long you have time for. If you don't have a lot of time and you have an area of your body that is sore, it is okay to spend time stretching just that side. If you wake up late for work and you have a sore hip that you know you need to stretch before you leave, you should stretch it. It doesn't matter. The other hip will understand. The other thing you can do is when you're stretching at home is spend more time on the sore injured side. So you might stretch the sore injured side for 2 or 3 minutes, and you might stretch your not sore injured side for 1 minute or 2 minutes.
Get up the proper way.
Nancy's going to get up the proper way for us.
Okay.
Okay.
So, thanks. That was wonderful.
Well, I'm glad you
I learned
enjoyed
some
it.
stuff.
Oh, good. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Debbie said that I should pretend that I was not as flexible, that I was stiff, and actually I am very stiff today, so it was helpful.
Okay. Well, I'm
Thanks.
glad I was of help.
And is there anything else you'd like us to know?
I would like you to know that, like I said, stretching is very natural. I've seen people whose disease processes don't allow them to have a lot of control over their body, and they still want to stretch. And when you assist them, they'll stretch. When you stretch, you're protecting your joints, because a lot of injuries are caused by our connective tissue and our muscle pulling on our joints, the connective tissue wrapping around our joints because it becomes very tight and unpliable. So stretching is really a good way to protect your joints, your muscles, and to feel better when you wake up in the morning.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
a wonderful conclusion.
Thank
and
you.
thank you all for watching the show for us today. And if you would like more information about us, just Karma Yoga, check our new website. We've got a brand new website. It's just gorgeous. Karma, www.karma-yoga.net. Our schedule's there, plus more information about Debbie and myself. We hope to see you at the studio. We thank Bloomfield Community Television for this production. And Debbie, thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you all.
May the